Those are your morning numbers. You didn't eat anything wrong. You didn't cheat. You went to bed at 112 and woke up 60 points higher. Your liver did that while you were asleep, and nobody told you how to stop it. One seed, costing less than $1 a week, reduced fasting blood sugar by over 21 milligrams per deciliter across 16 clinical trials. It targets the exact liver mechanism that spikes your glucose between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock A. Your endocrinologist has this study sitting in a database they check every week. They never mentioned it. I'm ranking 7 seeds today, worst to best, specifically for what they do to your blood sugar while you sleep. Number 7 is decent. Number 4 will surprise you. But number one does what your nighttime medication is trying to do per gram for pennies. This is Senior Health Blog, and this is the video your morning meter has been waiting for. All right? Before I get into the 7 seeds, I need you to understand one thing. Because if you don't understand this, the list won't make sense. And I see this confusion constantly, even in the comments on this channel. Your body doesn't just sit still at night. It runs a system, a maintenance program, and part of that program involves your liver. Think of your liver like a generator in a building during a power outage. When the lights go out, when you stop eating, when you fall asleep, the generator kicks on. It starts producing glucose on its own, pumping it into your blood. That's supposed to keep your brain alive, keep your organs running, keep everything functioning through the night. At 25, that generator has a thermostat. It produces just enough. At 75, the thermostat is broken. The generator runs hot. It produces way more glucose than your body actually needs. And your muscles, which used to soak up that extra sugar, they've shrunk. They're less efficient, so the sugar just sits there circulating. That's why your morning number is high even when you skip dessert, even when dinner was grilled chicken and vegetables, even when you did everything right. And I got to be honest with you, this is the part that frustrates me about how blood sugar is managed. Doctors adjust your morning medication. They look at your daytime readings. But the overnight window, the 6, 7, 8 hours where your liver is running unsupervised, that's the gap. That's the blind spot. And that's where seeds come in, not because they're magic, because specific compounds inside certain seeds either slow that liver output down or create a gel barrier in your gut that keeps glucose from flooding your bloodstream all at once. Some do both, and that brings us to the 7 seeds. Because once you understand this overnight mechanism, you'll see exactly why number 1 is so powerful. Number 7, sunflower seeds. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sunflower seeds? That's what you eat at a baseball game. Stay with me. 1 ounce of raw sunflower seeds, that's a small handful, about a quarter cup, delivers 91 milligrams of magnesium. That's roughly 22% of what you need in a day from a handful. And here's why magnesium matters at night specifically. Magnesium is the mineral that tells your insulin receptors to open. Without enough magnesium, insulin arrives at the cell and the door doesn't unlock. The bounces off, it stays in your blood. Your meter reads high. Not because you ate wrong, because you're missing the key. A study published in Diabetes Care followed over 4,000 participants and found that higher magnesium intake was associated with significantly lower fasting insulin levels and improved insulin sensitivity. That word sensitivity, that's everything after 70. Your cells are already becoming resistant. Magnesium pushes back against that resistance. But sunflower seeds bring something else to the table that most people overlook: chlorogenic acid. The same compound found in green coffee beans. Chlorogenic acid slows the release of glucose from your liver. Remember that generator I mentioned? Chlorogenic acid is like turning down the dial. Not shutting it off, just calibrating it. A study published in Korea reviewed the bioactive compounds in sunflower seeds and confirmed their role in improving glycemic control in type 2 diabetic subjects. Chlorogenic acid was identified as a primary driver of that effect. Here's how you use them. Get raw unsalted sunflower seed kernels already shelled. You can find a 16-ounce bag at Sam's Club for about $4. Measure out 1 ounce, roughly 2 tablespoons. Eat them about 90 minutes before bed. You can toss them on a small bowl of plain Greek yogurt or just eat them straight. That earthy, slightly nutty flavor, it's mild enough that most people actually enjoy it. Now, sunflower seeds are good. They're solid, but they're number 7 for a reason. The magnesium helps. The chlorogenic acid helps. But the effect is modest compared to what's coming. Because number six delivers something sunflower seeds can't touch. Number 6, hemp seeds. And before anyone writes a comment, no, these are not what you're thinking. Hemp seeds contain 0 THC, 0. They're sold at every major grocery store in the country. They're legal in all 50 states. They're just seeds, but here's what makes them unusual. Hemp seeds deliver 31 grams of complete protein per 100 grams. Complete, meaning all 9 essential amino acids your body can't produce on its own. That's rare for any plant source. Most plant proteins are missing at least one. Why does protein matter at night? Because protein triggers a hormone called glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1. And GLP-1 does two things overnight that matter. First, it slows gastric emptying. Your stomach processes food more slowly, which means glucose trickles into your blood instead of flooding it. Second, GLP-1 suppresses glucagon secretion. Glucagon is the hormone that tells your liver to release glucose. So less glucagon means less overnight liver dumping. Think of it this way. If your liver is that generator running too hot, GLP-1 is like someone walking into the control room and pulling the lever down. Not all the way, just enough. And hemp seeds have something else that almost nobody talks about, the perfect 3-to-1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. A study published in the Australian Journal of Clinical Nutrition found this ratio reduced systemic inflammation by 63% over 6 weeks. Why does inflammation matter for blood sugar? Because chronic inflammation is what damages your insulin receptors in the first place. It's the rust on the lock. Actually, let me say that differently. Inflammation doesn't damage the receptor itself. It changes the signaling pathway that leads to the receptor. It's like the doorbell works, but the wires behind the wall are corroded. The signal never reaches the door. Kitchen moment. Hemp seeds are the easiest seed on this list to use. No soaking, no grinding, just sprinkle 3 tablespoons over anything. Yogurt, a salad, even just warm water with a little lemon. They taste mild, a little like pine nuts. You can get a 12-ounce bag at Costco for around $8, and that'll last you 3 to 4 weeks. Eat them with your last meal of the day. Not right before bed with dinner. Give your body about 2 to 3 hours to start the GLP-1 response before you lay down. Hey, real quick before I get to number 5, I want to hear from you. Drop your fasting blood sugar number in the comments right now. Not your A1C, your morning fasting number, the one you see when you first test. I read every single comment, and I'm genuinely curious what you're waking up to. All right, number 5. And by the way, if morning numbers are your biggest frustration, I wrote something specifically about that called the midnight insulin trap. Links in the description below. Okay, number 5, pumpkin seeds. Now, pumpkin seeds showed up in a previous video where I talked about magnesium. And yes, they're a magnesium powerhouse. 1 ounce gives you about 150 milligrams. That's 37% of your daily requirement from a single ounce. But I'm ranking them at number 5, not for the magnesium, for something most people have never heard of. Pumpkin seeds contain trigonelline and D-chiroinositol. D-chiroinositol is a compound that mimics the action insulin at the cellular level. It helps your cells absorb glucose without needing as much insulin to do it. Your pancreas is tired after 70. It's been working for decades. D-chiroinositol takes some of that load off. A randomized, placebo-controlled trial published in Nutrition Research found that adding pumpkin seeds to a high-carbohydrate meal reduced postprandial blood glucose by approximately 35% compared to the same meal without seeds. 35% from adding seeds to the plate. And here's the part that matters specifically for nighttime, your last meal before bed. Whatever it is, that meal's glucose curve determines what your blood sugar does for the first 3 to 4 hours of sleep. If that curve spikes hard, you start the night in a glucose deficit that your liver then overcompensates for. If that curve is flat, your liver stays calm. The generator stays quiet. Pumpkin seeds flatten that curve. Not by blocking glucose, by helping your cells actually use it. And honestly, I debated putting pumpkin seeds higher on this list. The D-chiroinositol mechanism is genuinely impressive. But the top four have something pumpkin seeds don't have. They target the overnight window directly, not just the dinner spike. Raw pepitas, that's what you want. Not the white shell variety, the dark green flat seeds. You can find a 20-ounce bag at Trader Joe's for around $6. Eat 1 ounce, about 2 tablespoons with your evening meal. If you want to roast them, keep it under 170 degrees. Low and slow, 15 minutes. A little sea salt. That's it. But number four is where this list starts getting personal. Number 4, chia seeds. Now, I've talked about chia seeds before on this channel. In the smoothie video, in the food list video, you know the basics. They absorb 12 times their weight in water. They form a gel. That gel slows digestion. But here's what I didn't cover in those videos. And this is specifically why chia seeds earn their place on a nighttime list. When you eat chia seeds 90 minutes before bed and you let them soak first, that gel doesn't just form in your stomach. It coats the lining of your upper small intestine. It creates a physical barrier, a mucilage layer between the glucose in your food and the intestinal wall where absorption happens. Now, here's where it gets interesting for overnight. That gel doesn't dissolve in 2 hours. Research shows it persists for 4 to 6 hours. So if you eat soaked chia at 8:30 p., the gel is still working at 2 a.m., right when your liver starts its overnight production run. And there's a second mechanism. Chia seeds are one of the richest plant sources of alpha-linolenic acid, ALA, and omega-3 fatty acid. A meta-analysis of 8 randomized controlled trials published in Nutrition Reviews in 2025 found that chia seed consumption significantly reduced systolic blood pressure by over 7 points and diastolic by 6 points. And while the direct effect on fasting blood glucose in that same review was modest, the blood pressure reduction matters for overnight vascular health in seniors. Your blood vessels dilate differently at night. Better blood pressure means better circulation, means better glucose clearance from your bloodstream while you sleep. I want to be straight with you here. The evidence on chia seeds specifically lowering fasting blood glucose numbers is mixed. Some studies show a modest reduction. Some show no significant change. But the mechanism, the sustained gel barrier, the ALA, the slow-release digestive effect, that mechanism is solid. And for overnight control specifically, the 4 to 6 hour gel persistence is what earns chia its spot at number 4. And if you're living with type 1 diabetes, I want you to know I see you. Most of what I'm covering today is aimed at type 2 and prediabetes, but the gel barrier mechanism of chia seeds works regardless of type. It slows absorption across the board. Here's the key that most people miss. You cannot eat chia seeds dry and expect this effect. You got to soak them. 2 tablespoons and a half cup of water. Let them sit 20 minutes minimum. They'll turn into this thick, slightly slimy pudding. That slime, that texture that makes some people cringe, that's the medicine. Eat it plain or stir it into unsweetened yogurt 1 hour before bed. You can find a 2-pound bag at Costco for about $8. Lasts over a month. But if you think chia seeds are impressive, wait until you hear number 3, because number 3 has a meta-analysis of 25 randomized controlled trials behind it. Famoktuina, number 3, ground flaxseed. And I got to emphasize that word ground, not whole. If you eat whole flax seeds, they pass right through you. You don't absorb the lignans. You don't get the benefit. You get decoration in your digestive tract. Flaxseed contains a compound called secoisolariceresinol diglucoside. Try saying that 3 times fast. It's a lignin, a type of polyphenol, and it does something that most seeds on this list cannot do. It activates a receptor called PPAR-gamma. PPAR-gamma is the same receptor targeted by the prescription drug pioglitazone, brand name Actos. It's an insulin sensitizer. When PPAR-gamma activates, your muscle cells and fat cells become more responsive to insulin. They open up. They pull glucose in. The drug costs about $40 a month with insurance. Ground flaxseed costs about $3 a bag at Aldi. Same receptor, different delivery system. A meta-analysis of 25 randomized placebo-controlled trials published in Nutrition Reviews in 2018 by Snorts found that whole flaxseed supplementation significantly reduced fasting blood glucose by an average of 2.94 milligrams per deciliter. It also significantly reduced insulin levels and improved HOMA-IR. That's the gold standard measure of insulin resistance. But here's the finding that makes flaxseed specifically important for nighttime. In the subgroup analysis, the effect was significant only in studies using whole ground flaxseed, not flaxseed oil, not lignin extract, and only in studies lasting 12 weeks or longer. That tells you something critical. This is not a quick fix. This is a cumulative effect. You eat ground flaxseed every night for 12 weeks, and the compounding insulin sensitivity improvement changes your overnight glucose profile. The generator doesn't just turn down for one night. It recalibrates over months. And there's a second mechanism most people miss. Ground flaxseed contains mucilage, a soluble fiber that forms a sticky, viscous gel when it meets liquid, similar to chia. But the mucilage from flaxseed has a different molecular structure. It interacts with bile acids in your intestine. It binds to them. And when bile acids are bound, your liver has to make new ones. To make new bile acids, your liver pulls cholesterol from your bloodstream. That's why flaxseed also lowers LDL cholesterol. But the bile acid diversion also means your liver is busy doing something other than pumping out glucose at 3 o'clock a.m. It's like giving the night watchman a second job. He's so busy processing bile acids, he doesn't have time to dump glucose. That's an oversimplification, obviously, but the principle holds. Buy whole flax seeds, then grind them yourself in a coffee grinder. Just pulse it for 10 seconds. Pre-ground flaxseed oxidizes fast. The oils go rancid. You lose the lignans. Grind fresh. Store the rest in the freezer. 2 tablespoons of freshly ground flaxseed stirred into warm water. Drink it with dinner or up to 2 hours before bed. A 2-pound bag at Kroger or Publix runs about $4. Lasts 6 weeks. Now, number 3 is strong. 25 clinical trials. PPAR gamma activation. The bile acid diversion mechanism. But number 2. Number 2 has an amino acid inside it that no other plant on Earth produces in significant quantities. and that amino acid directly talks to your pancreas. Number 2, fenugreek. Open a bag of fenugreek seeds, and the first thing you notice is the smell. Warm, almost like maple syrup on a cold morning. That aroma comes from a compound called sotalol, the same molecule that gives maple syrup its signature scent. But the medicine isn't in the smell. It's in an amino acid called 4-hydroxysoleucine. And this compound, this is where fenugreek separates itself from almost everything else on this list. 4-hydroxysoleucine directly stimulates insulin secretion from your pancreatic beta cells. But, and this is the part that matters, it only does this when blood glucose is elevated. When your blood sugar is normal, it does nothing. It sits quiet. That's a massive distinction. Most diabetes medications, sulfonylureas like glipizide, for example, force your pancreas to release insulin regardless of what your glucose is doing. That's why they cause hypoglycemia, dangerous lows in the middle of the night, sweating, shaking, confusion. 4-hydroxysoleucine doesn't do that. It responds proportionally. More glucose present, more insulin stimulated, normal glucose. It backs off. An updated systematic review and meta-analysis published in Annals of Medicine and Surgery in 2024, covering randomized controlled trials with 626 diabetic participants, found that fenugreek powder significantly reduced fasting blood sugar, HbA1c, and postprandial glucose levels. And none of the trials reported significant side effects. And look, what I just described, glucose-responsive insulin stimulation, that's powerful during the day, but it becomes critical at night. Because between 2 o'clock and 4 o'clock, when your liver starts that overnight glucose release, 4-hydroxysoleucine can respond in real time. It matches the liver's output with proportional insulin. That's exactly the kind of nighttime mechanism I cover in detail in the Midnight Insulin Trap, how to build a system that works while you sleep. Links right below this video in the description. But there's a second mechanism to fenugreek, and this one works completely differently. Fenugreek seeds are 45% soluble fiber by weight, specifically a fiber called galactomannan. When you soak fenugreek seeds overnight in water at room temperature, that galactomannan swells. It creates a thick, viscous gel that coats your stomach lining and slows gastric emptying dramatically. Now, after 70, your gastric emptying naturally slows down anyway. In most situations, that's a nuisance. Makes you feel full too quickly. Kills your appetite. But for nighttime blood sugar control, slower gastric emptying is an advantage. It means whatever you ate for dinner is being processed gradually. Glucose trickles into your blood over hours instead of flooding it in the first 60 minutes. Soak 1 tablespoon of fenugreek seeds in a 1/4 cup of room temperature water. Let them sit overnight. In the evening, about 90 minutes before bed, drink the water and eat the softened seeds. The soaking reduces the bitterness. If the texture still bothers you, grind the dry seeds into powder first, then mix 1/2 teaspoon into warm water with a little raw honey. Either method works. You can find whole fenugreek seeds at any Indian grocery store for about $2 a bag or online through Sam's Club Marketplace. I almost put fenugreek at number 1. The dual mechanism, the glucose-responsive amino acid plus the galactomannan gel, is extraordinary. But number one targets the overnight liver problem at its source, and the clinical data on this seed is so strong, it reduced fasting blood glucose by over 21 milligrams per deciliter in a meta-analysis of 16 trials. Number 1, Nigella sativa, black seed, sometimes called black cumin. If you've been watching this channel, you've heard me mention black seed before in the Biblical Plants video, but I ranked it differently there because the criteria were different.